This goofy little contraption might be like one of the best little solo campers I think I've seen. Hey everybody, Josh the RV Nerd of Bish's RV. At your request, Rockwood and Flagstaff had this new expansion of their 15 series floor plans in the Geo Pro E-Pro lineup, and this is the new 15RD. It's the same box, the same size, the same front end as the 15TB, the twin to king vertible bed, but that jelly ain't necessarily everyone's jam. What they did here is they gave it a dinette with like a Lagun Table and a dedicated single bed above. And that's why I look at this and I'm like, this looks like just a little like solo dude or like just a single lady cruising around enjoying our great country here, seeing the sights and the sounds and all that kind of stuff. But it barely weighs a little bit over 3,000 pounds. It's not something that you need a big mega truck to try to pull. You don't have to spend 80 grand on a pickup just to haul this one around right here. You could certainly fold that dinette down and have an extra sleeper, which actually is interesting because that opens up the opportunity for things like maybe single parents or something like that, or it could be like a little honeymooning cozy couple kind of thing. Now it is a wet bath arrangement, which means the toilet and the shower are one little room, and that's certainly not everyone's favorite preference. It has a small kitchen up front, but it also has a really cool outside kitchen in the back of this thing. It's got some serious junk in the trunk of this one, if you know what I'm talking about. You've got like this little griddle station. It's actually kind of cool because the griddle mounts inside of the back of it for transit, because storage is at a premium in little campers like this. And what's also really smart, below the bunk on the outside, it has a rear pass-through storage compartment that you don't always find on little trailers like this. TPMS, solar, Asdel, tank heaters, all those things are all still there. Really small, really light. Opens up options for smaller tow vehicles that normally just can't handle a fully enclosed camper. Now, little campers like this are cool. They're fun, but it presents some unique challenges for me because I can't exactly give you an awesome big view of this thing because I don't like to use liar, pants on fire, tricky fisheye wide-angle camera lenses. They look super cool, but I think that they grossly misrepresent the RV. You're about to hear the door slam, by the way. That's just kind of, one of those things that happens behind you, but you don't normally hear me close doors at the same time. But I wanted to make sure that I had a little bit of private time with you inside this RV. Just sit down and talk with old Uncle Josh. Now, Geo Pros and E-Pros they have some very unconventional construction in terms of their roof. Their sidewalls are only 6'1" tall. They're a short, small, light RV, but it's 6.5 foot at the top of this barreled ceiling. They have a 5-inch vault because they actually have two 2.5-inch mini vaulted roof halves that actually seam together. Now, you can see where they trim the seam on the inside, but on the outside of the RV, they do have a seamless, like, TPO, roof skin or EPDM. Or, manufacturers change their roof skins all the time. Frankly, they're more similar than they're not, and we can argue some minutia, but the fact is the sealant on the roof is always going to be your weakest link in the chain and your lowest common denominator, so it doesn't necessarily as much matter what skin's on the roof, in my nerdy opinion. Anyway, one of the things I do like on these is any, frankly, Rockwood or Flagstaff enclosed trailer, you're going to have at least one of these big vent fans somewhere in the camper. This one is actually right up front in front of the kitchen. And what's neat is it's all the way on the opposite side of the RV from basically all of your breeze windows. So it can really force some good airflow moving through. The other thing is if you're doing some cooking, it can really exhaust a lot of that, hot air that you're breathing into the thing from your cooking versus the hot air that I'm breathing into it by doing my video. Some household outlets hidden down there in the corner of that table. And you might notice this is a handy Lagun table. So you can kind of pivot that thing around. You can just totally take it out of the equation if you don't want it there whatsoever. Down below here is our furnace. It doesn't have any ducted heating, so there's no vents in the floor. Geos don't do floor vents anyway. But the ducted, you don't need a ducted furnace in a tiny little one-room camper like this. You'll see that 12-volt smart TV can actually pivot around. The TV basically is the soundbar. And I tell you what, I appreciate how they radius that edge. I somehow caught my shoulder on that thing. But I also have literally a bleeding shin at the time that I'm recording this video because I caught my shin on, I don't know what, something in this RV. I walked outside and looked down. I'm like, my shin hurts. Oh, it's bleeding. I have no clue what happened. So this is, again, an offset to the 15TB. The 15TB has what looked like two sofas or benches with a floating table in between that can convert down into 2 individual beds, or one, I call it king vertible bed. It's a goofy, weird size though. This is the same physical size as the whole trailer is the same physical size as the 15 TB, but it has that single dedicated bunk above. So solo campers, maybe some couples, maybe somebody who wants a space for their dogs or their parakeet or some cats or something like that. Pets that aren't just dogs. There's some unique opportunities that present themselves here. Or what if you have like a kid up there and a parent down here, like a single parent bed? And if you don't need the whole thing in one big sleeper, if you just take those rear cushions off, you have a good size single sleeper right there and a single bed above. So this might be a fancy buddy hunting glamper, basically, And again, you do have those frameless tilt open windows. They don't provide amazing airflow, but that vent fan that we looked at, that big XL vent fan, will help offset a lot of that, which is very cool. Interesting spot for some USB plugs there, but at the same time, it's kind of nicely centralized between everything, so maybe it's not a terrible location for one of those. I don't know. It kind of does make a little bit more sense. Now, for privacy's sake, you do have blackout roller shades in this, and you see how, again, the lower thing can kind of convert open to just like a big wide open lounge, or you could use it like a, what do I want to say there? Like a big giant bed, obviously. The storage in this is a little bit tricky, but the storage is basically the same as the 15 TB Geo Pro E Pro, and you do have the exact same kitchen and bathroom on this one. It's the same front end, they just do some different things in the back end. Actually, what's funny is this floor plan had its original life as one of the very first Geo Pros called the 14 FK. And the 15 TB and now this 15 RD that we're in kind of were birthed off of that sort of concept. They changed the back end, but they left the front end alone. It just kind of seemed to work for them a little bit. Now that is a 12-volt DC compressor fridge. I think it's like a 5.3 cubic foot, which is funny because it looks small, but it's as deep as that cabinet. And gas electric two-way fridges that we all got used to for a number of years, like a huge chunk of it in the back, like a third of it, was the condenser unit, the absorption unit that you don't have here. Now over here, you've also got your thermostat, some outlets, your solar controller monitor, as well as your just a hard disconnect switch, just a shut-off switch for that 12-volt fridge. So if you're really going hardcore boondocking and you're like, you just want to throw some ice in it and use it like a cooler, you can do that too. Oh, they added an extra shelf up top there. That's actually really thoughtful, really useful. Sometimes it doesn't have to be big and massive. It just has to work, Now, you can't really tell because they got their fancy pants poster in the way over here. But it does have a full viewing window in the door, and it does have a privacy shade that pulls from bottom up on this one. Something else that's really cool on this RV, it's less than 10 feet tall. That can work in certain areas that, like, I don't know, not everybody has like a barn with a 14-foot overhead door, Some people need something a little bit smaller, potentially. Now, again, it is a wet bath. And to give you the toilet selfie demo right here, you can see that it's tight. It's not big. But again, it just is what it is. There's a lot of people that will get a camper like this and just use the park facilities and just use this like a closet. But you do still have that shower miser right there. And some people get kind of freaked out that you just see wall paneling. Why didn't they put shower surround paneling? Why isn't it plastic ABS? It's Asdel or composite, whatever. They're not necessarily always using Asdel on these now. But these wall panels that are exposed are a composite material. Now that is a baggage door, just like you have outside. So you have a guaranteed like dry space that you could lock down like toilet paper, No, nobody likes a soggy butt napkin, am I right? And no slides means she is always ready in road mode for some stealth mode camping. Like if you have to do a overnight parking lot sleepover somewhere, you just park the car, hop in the door, lock the deadbolt so no gas station murder hobo come and get you. Now, tip to tail, front to back, she's 16 feet 2 inches with 4,300 to 2,500 pounds of gross vehicle weight. with 4,325 pounds of gross vehicle weight, which means this thing has like over 1,000 pounds of cargo capacity, which is better than a lot of stuff that I've seen out there in a small single axle little segment. Sometimes just being lighter weight really does come back to benefit. What that means is that, like, my Ford Maverick has a 4,000 pound tow rating, would not be an appropriate vehicle for this. And someone's like, well, it only weighs 3,000 pounds. What if I don't load it full? That's not legal safe towing. You need to be able to handle the GVW of an RV, which, you know, you're going to want at least a 4,500 pound tow capacity, and frankly, you're going to feel more comfortable with a 5,000 pound tow capacity and above. But there's some SUVs that'll do that. Now, if you notice inside that little camp kitchen area, there's like a black rail. It's the same thing that this griddle is mounted on. It's the same thing that we're going to see above the tire. It's actually a place where you can mount some stuff, you know, whether you're holding the griddle in transit or maybe some just various accessories that you slap into the sucker. And this RV also has an 1,800 watt inverter. If I'm not mistaken, I think even that outside fridge could operate in transit. Now, the griddle's kind of blocking it, but you do have an accessory hitch on the back side of this thing. And despite its small size, it's still using 4-corner stabilizer jacks that a lot of single axles, they'll cut out the front ones to save a buck and save a pound. And not only are they using 4-corner stabilizers, they're actually using the quick drop stabilizers that provide even better stability, you know, when you reach your campsite, which is important because keeping single axle campers stable can be a bit of a trick. Now, this is one of the only members of the Rockwood and Geo Pro family. Rockwood and Geo Pro. That's like, what's the time in London and England? I'm an idiot. This is one of the only members of the Geo Pro and E-Pro family that does not have a fixed mount ladder off the back of it. That's because with that camp kitchen door, you really kind of couldn't. So what they did is they have a telescopic removable ladder mount, but it actually, as you saw, does include the actual ladder itself. I like how that's kind of the thing from Rockwood. Like if you look at Rockwood and Flagstaff, it's what I call Rockwood doing Rockwood things, or Rockstaff doing Rockstaff things, as it were, since they're the same thing, in case you weren't aware. The things that other brands say you could go get or they are prepped for, like the Max Air vent cover up there, or you know, roof solar, because the RV that we're looking at actually does have the second solar panel built on it right from the factory, although that one's optional, the first one's standard. Things like upgrading to dual propane tanks with an auto changeover regulator. Those are things that maybe for extra money you could go do on some other RV, or you could just get one that's done, son. You could get one that just has all the things right from the factory. That's what they're doing for us here. Now, they have always been what I call dual Asdel, so inside and outside layers of the sidewall are both Asdel layering. You're fine, Miss Jean. Come on through. Miss Jean from Rockwood and Flagstaff over here. The flooring of this used to be like a 5/8 OSB like pop-up floor. They didn't like that, so they went to a 5/8 tongue and groove plywood floor decking on aluminum joists. Basically just like the bigger mini lights and micro lights. Ooh, I like that little hot cold outside utility shower right there. Now over here on the driver's side of the RV, you can see how all the plumbing is up front, so it all comes out one single sewer outlet. And this is not a cassette toilet system, nor is there an option for anything like that. This is a fully self-contained kind of system right here. Some people prefer cassettes, and that's fine. That's just not what this is. By the way, sometimes people get a little bit spooked when there's a water hookup above an electrical hookup on an RV. Understand RV electrical systems are basically made to be used outdoors when it's raining. Now, certainly, seeing a high voltage plug sitting in a puddle of water is not my favorite thing, but generally speaking, it's all right. It just doesn't make me feel good. Magnet holdbacks, slam latches, even down here on the little Geo E-Pros is kind of a nice, cool new thing. Still prepped for a backup camera, and again, not just prepped for a telescopic removable ladder, actually includes it. So you'll always have one of those 200-watt solar panels up there, and again, from the factory or after the fact, you can always add a second one because they're using a solid charge controller and wiring that could handle it. So let me know what you think of her. What's your preference, this or the 15TB? And if you're not familiar with that, I'll leave you a link in the description, or you can check that one if you are so inclined. And short of that, I'll also leave you a link in the description if you want to check for pricing and availability on our website, since certainly at some point the price tag naturally affects the decision-making process. I'm no different than you are, I suppose. That will always show you what we have in stock and how it's equipped, because like you can do things like expand the solar or whatever the case may be, or if you want to see like what does it cost in your neck of the woods with shipping and not just some generic number, we've got all that listed right there for you. So when you're ready, we're ready, and until then, I'll keep on recording, you keep the suggestions coming. Take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.